Hi everybody, this is Erin Robinson with Dairy Rights. I'm coming in today to just talk about dialogue. So I want you to grab a pen, pencil, piece of paper. Today you don't really need a timer because this one might take a little less time than 10 minutes or a little more depending on how involved you want to get. I often see people struggle with dialogue in my mentee manuscripts, and when I go to classrooms and talk to teens about writing, dialogue can be one of those tricky things that if you mess it up, it kind of looks ridiculous, but it's also hard to detect what is wrong with it. So I have a few little strategies and things to look out for. So a couple things that I notice, like common mistakes that I notice when I'm reading dialogue that doesn't work, is that oftentimes it's very proper. Like a person has written all the dialogue very correctly, grammatically, and people are speaking in complete sentences and it sounds very formal. That's not how dialogue usually works, and that can make it sound very strange to the ear because you'll be talking in your narrative voice, describing, leading into the dialogue, and then it almost doesn't change from that tone as you go into dialogue, and that kind of is funny on the editorial ear. So if you loosen it up a little bit and take some time to play around with dialogue and observe dialogue, you'll notice that it's not usually proper English. People will interrupt each other. They'll talk over each other. They won't speak in complete sentences. They'll mix things up, or sometimes they might have a funny way of saying something. So you want to make sure that your character doesn't sound too perfect, and that will help your dialogue. One other thing that I often see in mentee manuscripts is the use of the other person's name. So if I were talking to my friend Fred, I'd be like, "Hey Fred, how you doing?" And then a couple of lines later, I'm like, "Fred, you know what? I think we should go to the market next week." You don't naturally say somebody's name over and over again unless they're not paying attention to you. So that obviously could be used to help you highlight that someone is distracted. But normally, I don't want to hear Fred's name over and over again. I know Fred's in the scene already. If I hear you keep saying Fred, it's just really irritating. So get the names out of there, out of the way, unless you really need it, okay? And that's something that comes up all the time. So don't feel weird if you already have that in there where you're saying, "Hey, Fred," or over and over again. Just look for it, take it out, make it revised and pretty and beautiful. Watch for colloquialisms or regional phrases. That's really interesting about characters and can even add some character depth while you're using dialogue. So say a character is from New England and they say something like, "That's wicked cool." That would feel like New England. A lot of people around here say wicked for whatever. Like we just like that. We say wicked a lot. I don't know, maybe it's maybe also just my age group. Probably the younger kids don't say that anymore. Also something to think about, the age of your character, what they would be saying. And then again, just a reminder that people talk over each other, so you can do a little dash if someone interrupts the other person, and maybe that thought isn't complete. That's totally normal. So what I want you to do to try to practice these little things and make sure it's really smooth and beautiful, and to notice how people talk, is to listen in on conversations. You can listen in on a conversation in your household, grab a piece of paper and just start jotting down what people are saying. If you want to do it quickly, you could kind of do each person on a separate line. If you don't have a lot of people around you right now, which is also totally normal, grab when you're watching a show, or if somebody else is watching a show on TV or listening to the radio, do it that way too. Once you start to, you could also record it if writing it is too hard. And then your job as the writing prompt challenge is to sit down and analyze it. So sit down and say, okay, how's this person talking? Are they interrupting each other? Are they using complete sentences? Are they using each other's names a lot? And are they cutting each other off? Do they have any common colloquialisms that they're using? Then once you analyze it and you start thinking in terms of how dialogue actually sounds, try some dialogue again. Maybe you rework a scene you've been working on or having trouble with, or maybe start something fresh and see if you can make dialogue work a little bit better for you. So that's your challenge today. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes long. Whenever you could do it at your leisure. I think it's a great exercise and it's fun. So stay creative. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, erinr@dairypl.org, or just shoot a question over in the comments wherever you're reading this or seeing this. And I will see you next week.